Today, we're switching gears a bit, exploring a comedic podcast that reimagines, get this, stories from the Bible. Yeah, the Bible. And specifically, we're diving into their take on the book of Genesis, that very first book.
And it's amazing how these ancient texts, especially religious ones, they just keep finding new life, you know?
Right. It's not exactly what you'd expect on the deep dive, but stick with me.
Oh, absolutely. It's like every generation wants to find their own way to connect with these stories. I mean, you don't survive for thousands of years without being, well, adaptable.
Totally. So this particular episode we're looking at, it tackles the creation story, right?
Yeah.
But they present God as this, cosmic DIY enthusiast rushing to finish a 6-day home renovation.
With power tools and everything, I bet.
Pretty much. Every time God creates something in the podcast, there's this sound effect, like a light switch flicking on.
Clever. A little relatable humor there.
Yeah. And they even use this phrase that cracked me up. The universe being described as an instant room makeover. I mean, can you imagine?
It's kind of brilliant when you think about it. The book of Genesis is, well, it's foundational to so many cultures and religions, right? But let's be honest, the language can sound a bit, shall we say, old-fashioned to our modern ears.
To say the least.
Exactly. So this comedic approach, it uses everyday language, relatable situations, bam. Suddenly these ancient stories become relevant again.
And funnier, don't forget funnier.
Oh, absolutely. Humor, it's a great leveler. It lets us engage with these big existential ideas like, the creation of everything without feeling intimidated or overwhelmed. It's like, hey, this is actually kind of funny. And then boom, the message sneaks in.
It's disarming, right? Like you let your guard down because you're laughing and then the idea actually lands in a whole new way.
Precisely. This comedic take on Genesis, even if you aren't religious, it's a great reminder that there are so many ways to approach even the most serious stuff. Sometimes laughter is the key.
Well said. And you know what? That sparks a question for our listeners. Think about this. What would your version of an instant room makeover look like if you had the power of creation? Leave your thoughts, and we'll be back soon.